CleverTouch video, we're going to go over the Note whiteboarding application. You can find the Note application here under your menu, and it's that first green icon called Whiteboard. While you're here in Whiteboard, I'd like to first just go over the main toolbar located here at the bottom of your screen. The very first tool here, the arrow, is the selector tool. That allows you to select and manipulate objects that you may have on your screen. Let me quickly put in an object here for us to manipulate and show. So once I have something, if I use that selector tool, I can now move it around. I can make it larger or smaller. I can rotate it around with that selector tool. The next one is the annotation tool. So it looks like a pencil icon. This gives you even more options here in the whiteboarding application than if you were just in the annotation tool on a website. Now, first you have two different colors up here up top. That indicates the two different colors, or represents the two colors on the side of your stylus. You have to use the stylus to get two different colors. If you're just using your finger to write, it will naturally just write with the first color there in the icon. So as you can see, the other side of this stylus, the skinny side, has the second color. And if I go back to that thicker side, it has that first color. You can change the color by when you are tapping on or selecting the side. So right now I'm on the first side, which would be my finger, or the thick side. You can choose what type of utensil you're using. So you've got a pencil, different types of brushes, or the eraser here, or the chalk here. You can select the colors that are there in the palette, as well as the color wheel if you want even more specific colors to be writing with, as well as the thickness. So this changes the thickness to thicker or thinner. There, as you can see the difference. And then that second color is, remember, is that other side, or the skinny side of the stylus. But like I said, you must be using the stylus to activate that second color. There we are. So that is that annotation tool. The third tool here is the recognition tool, and specifically the handwriting recognition tool. So what that allows you to do is to write with the stylus or your finger, or turn that into text on the screen. So when you activate it, then you can write, like I said, with your finger or the stylus. When you have the word you're looking for, you tap that bottom arrow and it will type it and turn it into text. I can now use the selector tool to change it and move it around. I can make it a different color if I'd like, rotate it, put it anywhere on the screen that I would like to put it. The fourth tool down here is the math recognition tool. And so that changes either if you're using the stylus or your finger to write an equation into text as well with math. So those numbers and symbols. And so I can, especially for like a fraction, use my finger and write 1/2, and then use that tool to make it go down, and I can use selector now, make it larger or smaller. So I'm going to go back to that recognition tool again for math. I can write an equation, and then that down arrow will then make it into text for me. I can now, like I said, make it larger, smaller, change the color, anything I want with that, back to that selector tool. So that is that fourth tool, the math recognition tool. The fifth tool there is the eraser. So you can always erase with your palm text that you have written. Always use the back of your hand. But if you want to erase single objects or things you've inserted, you have to use this eraser here now within Whiteboard. And so as you can see, my palm will not erase my equations or my text. I have to have that eraser selected, and I can strike through it with my finger to erase that. So that is helpful. The sixth tool there is a trash can. You probably know what that means. If I want to delete everything on my file, I click the trash can. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you that back arrow tool, because if you accidentally erase it, if you use the back arrow for anything, it will repopulate what you've accidentally erased as well. The next tool here is the shapes, and so that has both 2D shapes, 3D shapes, and actually as well as some lines for you. When you activate it, first the 2D shapes come up. You can select which shape you want, as well as the color of the outline of the shape. And once you've selected the shape type and the color, You can go ahead and draw it here on your screen. And even after you draw it, don't forget you always have the very first tool, that selector tool, to select it, and you can still go back and you can move it around on your screen, make it larger or smaller, rotate it, whatever you need to do to your shape. Also within shapes, under 2D shapes, we also have lines. And so that can be helpful for many reasons. I like to think of primary when I see these dotted lines, where you could write out letters for students to trace. I'm sure you can find other uses within math and geometry as well for those lines. Then the second option here are the 3D shapes. So you can also select a 3D shape as well as the color of the 3D shape and draw it right there on your screen as well. Don't forget, you can always go back to that selector tool, select it, and you can still make it larger or smaller, move it around on the screen, and even change the color again if you would like to one of these other colors. So that is your shape tool. The next tool is your infinite whiteboard tool. So that looks like the hand, flat and out, all 5 fingers showing. When you click on that, it's going to allow you to move around, because technically, even though we're looking at this whiteboard, it goes on forever in all directions. And so now that it's selected, I can pull and I can continue to write up top here if I want. I can move it around and write all the way here at the bottom if I want. In any direction, so if I want to keep it on one page or sheet altogether. Also, when I click it and click it again a second time, it shows me my infinite whiteboard and all my work to quickly allow me to move around there on my whiteboard so that I can have the text that I am looking for. The next tool is a paint palette that gives you additional painting options. Just a warning, when you do go click on it, it does take you outside of the whiteboard to be interactive, and then when you're finished, it puts you back into the whiteboard, but you're no longer able to use those tools. I've seen teachers use this for reward time because it has some great advanced tools, or also within an art classroom. And so once you've activated it, it pulls up a whole new screen, a new canvas for you to select different paintbrushes, the thickness of the paintbrushes, your color, for you to write and draw with if you'd like. When you're finished drawing, you simply click this arrow to get back out of it. You can either save it also or go back. And so I'm going to come out of this, and as you can see, it exited that canvas and I'm back to my whiteboard, but I do not have that image anymore. And then last but not least, we went over that back arrow, so that anytime you need to go backwards because you've deleted something that you want to get back, you can use that arrow. On the very right hand side, you can also see what page you're on. So think about the whiteboard kind of like Google Slides or PowerPoint, where you have multiple slides within a file. You can also have multiple pages in your whiteboard. To get a new page, you just simply click or touch the plus button and it's going to give you a new blank page. I can now see at the bottom, I'm on page 2 of 2. So if I continue to add, I will get additional pages. Now I'm on 3 of 3 and I can toggle back and forth. The way that you choose to use the whiteboard depends on your preference as a teacher. I've seen where some teachers like to use one file all day long, so they might make a page for every single workshop or every single class period, so that when they save this whiteboarding file, it is saved with the date. So today is the 24th of August, so maybe I would make my first page for literacy, and then I add another page, and that's my math workshop, and then the next page is science, and then I save that entire whiteboarding file as August 24th, and so it's all together in one place. Whereas some teachers like to have a new file for every single content area during the day. And so maybe I would just have one page and I would call it Literacy Workshop on August 24th. And so I would save it that way. So it depends on your preference as a teacher with how you like to add pages and how you want it saved. This has been a video on the basic tools here at the bottom of our whiteboarding app. Thank you so much for watching.